Okay, guys. Last day of the Consulting Club Mastermind. I hope you guys enjoyed the first couple of days. We'll kick the day off, I think, with a really epic speech. I think many of you guys will love it. We got to know each other just like, what is it, like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, like 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I was on Ty's Mastermind in LA, right? You guys were there, we met, and then we just spoke and connected what you guys do. And then you invited me to the office in New York. And I didn't really know what you guys are doing. We just spoke briefly. You're running a payment processor, right? And we came to the office, and I have to say, I have never ever seen, it's the most amazing office that I've ever seen, right? And the stuff that you guys do is inspirational. So the guys are running a payment processor. It's called Whop. I think, when did you guys start it? Like 4 years ago?
Oh yeah, we started like 3 years ago.
3 years ago. How many employees do you guys have now?
We have 65 full-time in New York.
65 full-time. How much money have you raised approximately?
We've raised a little over $50 million.
$50 million. And when it comes to processing, I don't know if you can share numbers, but you started 3 years ago.
Yeah, so we started 3 years ago. In our first year, we helped creators earn about like $5 to $10 million. Last year was our second year. We helped creators earn about $60 to $80 million. And this year, at the end of the year, creators will be earning about $1 billion a year on Whop.
Yeah, that's just in 3 years.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the whole journey, your journey.
Yeah.
We spoke in the office, what you did back in the days, like sneaker botting, like Bitcoin, like arbitrage bots and everything. So that's super cool. We'll talk about hiring. And yes, I think it's going to be a good talk.
Cool.
One thing that I think was also quite interesting, when we were in the office, you were upstairs, right, talking to an advisor. You guys are big on advisors, right?
Yeah.
And you get like professionals to help you. Who are maybe some of the advisors that you have at the moment?
Yeah, so that advisor, his name's Jason. He was in the Delta Force for 10 years. So Delta Force in the US is kind of like up there with the Navy SEALs. And then he worked at Snapchat for about 5 years. He reported directly to Evan Spiegel, and he was the chief people officer. So he oversaw hiring of about 4,000 people at Snapchat. We have Javid, who's the co-founder of YouTube. So we met him about a year ago, and he's been really instrumental. We have Kevin Hartz, who's the founder of Eventbrite. Nick Rellis, who's the founder of Drizzly, which is an alcohol delivery app that sold to Uber for $1 billion. So if you can pay to obtain knowledge for people that have gone down the same path as you, you can save a lot of time. So we've gone hard on advisors.
That's amazing. Yeah, we'll dive into all the details in a second, but I think maybe let's start with your story. Like, what's the background? Like, how did all of this start to now running this payment processor? Processing close to $1 billion this year.
Yeah.
Where did it all start?
Yeah, totally.
You are young, right?
I'm 25.
25. Wow, that's amazing.
Not as young as you, so.
Yeah, nearly.
I'm super excited we can walk through the whole story. So this is my first ever speech, so I'm excited to do this. But I guess going back to, I think it's helpful to start when I was 5 years old. So growing up, I went to a school called Montessori. Does anyone here know what a Montessori school is? Okay, cool, a couple people. So I guess it's kind of like bigger in the US, but Montessori schools are essentially classrooms where there's no curriculum, there's no test taking, there's no homework. There's a teacher, but the teacher doesn't really teach much. You have different classes with 3 grades in them at a time. So for instance, you'd have 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade in one class. And as a kid, as a 5-year-old when I started going, you just have a big classroom and there's a math corner, there's a science corner, there's an art corner, and you can do whatever you want. And kids, when you talk to a 4-year-old, they ask questions like, why is the sky blue? Like, why is it raining? And they're very curious. And what the public schooling system does to kids is essentially turns them into robots, where you sit in a desk, you wear maybe the same clothes every single day, you have to go home and do homework. So it kind of kills a kid's curiosity. And the beauty of Montessori schools is it lets kids be curious. Like, you can, if you want to just focus on math every single day, you can focus on math. If you want to learn how to start a business, you can focus on starting a business. You have to spend at least an hour a day outside. So I went to Montessori school, my co-founder went to Montessori school until we were 12. Other people like Jeff Bezos went to Montessori school. Like, there's a lot of really cool people who've gone to Montessori schools. And our vision for the world is just like one big Montessori school environment where people get to do what they love every single day. They don't feel like they're enslaved to a 9 to 5 and they have to do the same thing every single day. So that's where I started. The first thing I ever did to make money was I handed out flyers door to door for $7 an hour. So I was 10 years old. I started working at a window shop and it was nice to make my own money, but $7 an hour was not it. So I decided to quickly learn how to make money on my own. So the first thing I ever did to make money on my own was I went to growing up, I had these like, they're called bar mitzvahs. So it's like an event you go to when someone turns a certain age. And I won a prize one day, like a stuffed animal. And I cut the head off the stuffed animal, took all the stuffing out, filled it up with a bunch of soda and candy from the party, and brought it to school the next day to sell it. So I started selling soda and candy out of my locker. And that was shut down immediately by teachers who were pissed off that I was selling soda in the hallway. So the next thing I did was build, we essentially designed these custom socks. So again, just like hacking shit together, we made socks for our high school colors and sold them for $40. So just like trying shit out, no idea what was gonna happen, and it compounded. And then from there, I found out what sneaker reselling was. So I got into sneaker reselling when I was 12, and sneaker reselling is essentially where you can buy a pair of sneakers for $200 and sell them for $1,000. So there's like Yeezys, Jordans, all these different sneakers that sell for a lot of money. So we got into that, and we didn't focus on actually buying and selling the sneakers ourselves. We built software that would automatically buy the sneakers. So no different than a Taylor Swift ticket. When Taylor Swift tickets come out, they sell it instantly, and they'll sell for 3, 4, 5x margin. So when I was 12, I made a post in a Facebook group saying, hey, I'm looking for an app developer who can help me build a sneaker bot. And my co-founder now, Steven, ended up responding. We were both same age, lived 30 minutes away from each other, and we started working together. So he programmed the first iteration of a sneaker bot we worked on, and we started selling it. And we made a couple $1,000s on our first day, and from there, it just scaled. So from 12 to 16, we scaled that operation and got to a point where on a given morning, we would be buying 10 to 20,000 pairs of sneakers for other people. So we didn't buy the inventory on our own. We built the software that would buy it. People would give us their information to purchase the sneakers, and we would scale that. So as soon as I turned 16, I dropped out of high school to just focus on this full time. So we scaled that operation a lot. In peak months, we'd be making like mid 6 figures, low 7 figures off of just like arbing all these sneakers. Everything was going amazing. I was super happy. And when my mom got sick with cancer when I was about 17. So she got pretty sick pretty fast and ended up passing about a year after. And all my shit just got like fucked. Like I stopped working on businesses. I pretty much spent all the money I'd made, and I kind of went back down to ground zero of just like pretty much losing everything I made, and went down just like a bunch of different paths. So after that, kind of started over again to get momentum. And my co-founder Steven and I, we made an agency which helped people build apps and websites. So we built a service where people, essentially within like 5 or 6 months, we had 80 active clients, and people would contract us out to build apps and websites. So similar to a lot of agencies in this space, it was more so on the software development side, but that's what we were doing. And from there, we would hop around to different ideas. We built a Bitcoin arbitrage tool in the early days when Bitcoin was only worth a couple $100. You could get a 5 to 10% arbitrage, meaning you could buy Bitcoin for $100 on US exchanges like Coinbase and sell them on Asian exchanges for like a 5 to 10% markup within a couple minutes. So anything we could do to make money on a spread, we were trying. So that led us to COVID, where we were still trying to figure out what to do. We didn't really know what to do with our lives. We were just trying a bunch of different ideas. We found a Discord server where there were 100,000 people that were manually buying and selling sneaker bots. So during COVID, a lot of products like outdoor heaters, at-home weights, above-ground pools, all these things started selling for a ton of money because people were stuck at home all day. So we built the first iteration of Whop, which was a marketplace where you could rent out a sneaker bot from someone else. And the theme here is that is not scalable whatsoever. Like you cannot turn that into a big business, but we realized pretty early on that we could either try to build a small business in a big market or build a big business in a small market and monopolize something and then figure out how to compound that. So we started that. Within about 3 months, we were doing around like $400,000 a month off of that, and it was growing. We got our first acquisition offer, which was mid to high 7 figures, mostly cash. And after coming off a bunch of failed businesses, that was like pretty crazy because it was a lot of money that we were offered, and we ended up turning that down and raising money from Peter Thiel, who was the first investor in Facebook and the founder of PayPal, Justin Mateen, who's the founder of Tinder, and a bunch of other really cool strategic investors. And we went all in scaling Whop. So how we iterated from there, and the theme, again, like at that point, it was just a marketplace to rent out sneaker bots. So no one in this room would have ever used Whop and what it is today. So we reassessed and figured out how we could provide more value to creators to help them make more money. So we started building really close relationships with all the creators who were building these sneaker bots and selling them on our platform, and building more infrastructure to help creators make more money on our platform. So from there, we decided not to build our own community management platform and all those things and integrate third-party platforms like Discord, Telegram. So we made it really easy for people to sell access to these tools, and we focused on the payment processing side and the dashboard. So our thesis from day one is, as a creator, there's a lot of tools and resources folks don't have access to today that will help them make more money. And we went all in on that side. So that continued scaling and got us to a point today where we have about almost 10,000 creators active on the marketplace. We have 5 million monthly users, about 500,000 active paying monthly users, and we've put all of our time and resources into just helping creators make more money. So we don't really have a marketing team, which is a problem, but we have a team of 65 full-time in New York. We bring about 20 to 30 creators into our office every single week, and we're just obsessed with the product and how we can build the perfect product that helps creators make more money. So most people here probably haven't heard of Whop before, maybe until this event, which is funny and it makes sense, but interesting stats are about the average of 10,000 creators, the average creator on Whop today makes around $5,500 per month, which might not seem like a lot to most people in this room, but for the average person to be making that much is pretty insane. That's like, for the average person, they can quit their job, they can do this full time. And that's our focus, is to help everyone in the world create sustainable income via the internet. So now we just recently raised a little bit more money from Guillaume Perez, who's the founder of checkout.com, and a bunch of other strategics. So we're trying to just bring in the smartest people in the room who can help us turn this into an ecosystem where everyone in the world can quit their 9 to 5 and make a full-time living on Whop. So that's kind of where we're
amazing. First of all, thank you so much for sharing the story and talking about it. Maybe to summarize for those of you like Whop, to put in a couple of words, it's basically you have payment processor, members area, site, and like apps all in one place, right? And I think, when we spoke in the office in New York, I think the vision that you guys have is super, super inspirational. It's like super big. Like you even want to go outside of the traditional like payment processor, like kind of like bubble, and selling like online courses, digital products, services, and everything. You spoke about the real estate thing, but then also about the WeChat in China. Maybe talk a little bit about the vision, because I think that's super cool.
How many people here have been to China before? One person, okay, nice. So in China, there's an app called WeChat, and I don't know if you guys have used WeChat, but it's very normal, and everyone uses WeChat. You use the same app to text your friends, call your friends, pay for rent, pay for food. When you go to the gym, like WeChat is the everything app. And it's really convenient. Like you call your Uber on WeChat, which is Didi there, and it's all one app. And the reason it works, it's no different than why Amazon works. Like it's much more convenient to purchase all of your products on one marketplace and have it aggregated. So what we are focused on right now is kind of building the super app of the Western world. So last week I had a meeting with a landlord developer who owns 6,000 apartments in New York, luxury high rises, and we're working on onboarding their building onto Whop, where every single tenant in the building will pay rent through Whop. And what everyone in this room has figured out is if you can connect to your customers and get really close, you can build a massive business and provide a ton of value. And most real businesses outside of this space don't know how to connect with their customers. This building, which has like the 6,000, the average apartment, minimum apartment's $4,500 a month. So these are like luxury high rises. They use 4 different platforms they have one for payments, one for maintenance for the building, one for gym access, and then they have a WhatsApp chat. And what they're gonna do is they're gonna sign up on Whop, and everyone's gonna pay rent through Whop. And then as soon as they pay, they get access to the building Whop, which has a building chat, tickets for maintenance, suggestions app. It's essentially all of the things that we've discovered work in the space and can help build a really big business. So the long-term vision is someone should pay rent on Whop. And as soon as they pay rent, if they're paying $5,000 a month, we should send them to Philip's product because we know that they have large spend and they're interested in breaking out of the 9 to 5. Or if they're in a studio and they're paying $1,000 a month, we should send them to a low ticket creator because the vision is, again, everyone should escape the 9 to 5 and make their own money on the internet. So right now we're really focused on onboarding car washes, apartment complexes, gyms, because everyone, it's a smoother experience to purchase everything in one place, and then you cross-pollinate and you have them discover new products that they didn't know existed.
Yeah, nice, amazing. Also, I'm not sure if you want to share this, but when we were in the office, you guys with the Whop are also kind of like building your own social media platform, right?
Yeah.
So what's that about?
Yeah, so after you, there's a lot of different platforms people use to host community. You could use Discord, Telegram, School, all these different platforms. So we are, again, the real vision is to connect social and commerce. So you can't have these interactions happen on different platforms. You can't pay in one place and then have to engage with an audience in a different place. So with Whop, when you sign up, you can sign up right from your phone. You have a storefront where you can take payments, people pay, and then they get access to your Whop. And the Whop is where the entire social aspect comes together. So all of the engagement, we have chat, chorus, forum, everything takes place on the Whop app.
Yeah, amazing. So this all sounds super big, but the question is like, how did you build it? Like, how do you manage the team?
Yeah.
Like, how did you grow so fast? And also, maybe what's interesting for many people, how do you, we can go into that like after the business structure, how do you make sure that you yourself are productive, that you get shit done?
Yeah.
But let's first talk about the business, the structure. You know, we spoke before, you mentioned like some procedures that you have to keep the company productive.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah, totally. So we started the year with about 20 full-time people in our New York office. We're at 65 right now. So making sure we get the most out of everyone is super top of mind. So one thing we've done recently, which has resonated with a lot of people, is we have what's called MICs. So it stands for Most Important Commitment. So every single week, every person, every team has MICs. And MICs should be massive goals. Like you can, when you break everything down to a rudimentary level, you can actually get a shit ton of stuff done in a week. And a lot of people like to get lost in the weeds of these big tasks. But what's really helped us is we don't set like rigid goals, like we need to get to $100 million per month by the end of the year. We set really big North Stars, because the problem with that is why is it 100 million, not 200 million? And then when it's 200 million, why is it not 400 million? So if you set these, you can set North Stars. For instance, like SpaceX mission is to make humans a multi-planetary species. Like that's not like, it's not a number that you hit. It's just like a big vision that you can always work towards. So we set really, really, really big long-term visions. And then every single week we chip away at them. And we set what's called MICs, where every team has most important commitments. We share them at a Monday morning meeting at 10 a.m. where every single person goes over their team's MICs for the week. And then we track them the entire week. And when you break everything down to a rudimentary level like that, you can get a lot done in a week.
Yeah. Okay. So you have weekly meetings, Monday morning, right? With the team, you have the big North Star goal for the company, kind of like the vision for the company. And then every Monday for the week, every department, every team member has something that they need to get done this week. And you do it in person, and then you guys
it's all in person. Yeah, so we go over metrics. So we have metrics that we track, so everyone's aware. If we're not moving a metric, then you're not actually doing anything. So everything's tied back to a metric. A lot of people like to think they're doing a lot of work, but if it's not making a number go up, you might as well take the day off and go on vacation. So we have metrics we track, and then we have goals against, like tasks against those metrics, things we're going to do to move the metric up. And we do those on Monday.
Okay, nice, interesting. And then you mentioned something when we spoke before, that all of your employees have actually equity within the company. Like, why is that? Why did you decide to implement it? And what was the impact that you saw like once you implemented it?
Yeah, I think the thing I always thought about growing up was, obviously as the founder, like you want your company to succeed and you're going to do whatever it takes for the company to succeed. But to do something massive, you need a lot of people helping you. Like you can only do so much on your own. So it's really important to align incentives. And for Whop, I want to work on Whop until I die. Like I want to work on Whop for the next 75 years and turn this into a massive company. And every single person that's at Whop, whether it's someone who's on our customer support team or our VP of finance, everyone has equity in the company. Because if we all have a stake in the company, we all want it to work. And some people have like upwards of 7 figures worth of equity in the company, and some people start at a lower level. So the best way to align incentives is to give everyone a piece of the pie. So if you're running, this might be controversial in this phase, but if you're running a business and you have 10 people on your team, and if the business doubles, your team's comp doesn't double or increase accordingly, the incentives aren't aligned. Like they're not focused on the same goal as you. Your goal is to double the company. Their goal is to get their to-do list done. So equity, we do it over a vesting period, so people unlock it incrementally over a 4-year time span. But it's the best way, and in this space it might be rev share more so than equity, but it's the best way to align incentives so that you have everyone pushing the same rock up a hill versus people just focus on knocking out their to-do list versus wanting the business to actually 10x.
Yeah, makes sense. And did you implement this from the beginning on when you started the company, or like within the process?
No, I mean as soon as we started bringing people on, everyone had equity.
Wow. And who did you learn this from?
I think in tech companies, it's kind of like, it's just, it's pretty standard at like Facebook, every single person has equity. At Amazon, every single person has equity. So I think it's somewhat common in traditional like tech companies, but early investors we spoke to were just like, because if the individual doesn't have equity in the business, then they're not going to work as hard as you because they don't have the upside.
Okay, got it. Now, quick question over here.
So it's called a 4-year vesting period. So if you give someone 1% of a business, let's say, for the first 12 months, it's called a 12-month cliff. So they don't get any equity until month 12. So if you hire someone and they're not working out on month 4 and you get rid of them, they don't have any equity. So on month 12, 25%, because 1 year out of 4, 25% cashes in and they get 25% of their equity vested. And then incrementally every month for the remaining 36 months, they unlock 1/36 of their equity. So it's not all at once, like they have to work to unlock it. Yeah. So if you, I mean, there's different ways of structuring it, but you have a period so long as after you leave that you have the ability to like obtain your equity and purchase it.
Any other questions before we continue on the topics that we just spoke about?
One more.
Yeah.
How do you structure like how much equity you give to each person? Like because it has to go down over time. Because otherwise you give the whole business away and like.
So what we do is we essentially make a pool of equity. So we allocate a different, every couple of years, we allocate a certain percentage of the company in a pool. So we'll say, okay, for the next 2 years, we're going to put 10% of our equity in a pool, and then we give it out to different people. So if we recently just hired a new head of product who built the Google Discover app. So he built the Google Discover app at Google, and then he was in charge of getting rid of fake news at Facebook during like 2016 with Cambridge Analytica. So when you have like A players like that who have built 2 of the biggest news feeds in the world, you'll give them more equity. If we are hiring a customer support rep, they still deserve equity, but the impact that those people will have on the business is different. So I would go based on how, again, it's just like how hard do you want someone to work? Like if that person's coming, you want to, I'm on the side of you should overgive equity because at least for us, like we want to work on Whop for 75 more years. So we need a lot of people who are really smart, who are down for this mission for a very long time and can help push it forward. So I think it's good to overgive versus like undergive, but based on the impact that you think they'll have on the business.
Okay. From my side, question, why do you think you've been able to grow Whop so fast?
I think we don't have a marketing team, so our strategy has been a little bit different. We come to like these, like we just get really close to creators. At the end of the day, I think Henry Ford has a good quote, which is like, if you listen, Henry Ford made Ford Automotive, so he made the first car, and he said, if he listened to what people had said, he would have built faster horses versus building a car. Like people wanted to go faster, and they thought that the answer was a faster horse, but they actually just wanted, they didn't realize they wanted a car, but what they wanted is cars. And 100 years from now, we won't be using cars. We'll be flying on drones, or we'll learn how to fly. Like we'll do different things. So I think we are a product and engineering focused company. We have 30 people across engineering, product, and design. And we bring over 20 creators into the office every single week. We have an account management team of 7 creators. So the top 500 creators or so on Whop have a dedicated account manager where they get on the phone every single day. So we've just gone a very different approach of like 25 years from now, people will maybe remember a marketing campaign, but like products win long term. So we've just put all of our energy and all of our resources into building a product that helps creators make more money. And that I think is what's helped scale it.
Yeah, amazing. Also, when I was in the office in New York, right, and you guys showed the platform and everything, like the design, everything, it's like so cool, like really like built for the creator. Also, the thing that you're doing is, you know, I think you're flying creators out to New York every single week, every single day when they make $500 or something within 1 week. Why do you do that?
Yeah, so there's an interesting stat Facebook found out in the early days was if Facebook could get someone to 10 friends within the first 7 days, they were a lifetime user. If they didn't get to 10 friends, they didn't see the value in the platform and they fell off. So and that's called like an aha moment. So we found our aha moment is if a creator or a new business can make $500 in their first 7 days, 80% of people go on to make over $2,000 per month. So what we did is we launched a program where if you're a new creator that signs up and you make $500 in your first 7 days, we fly you out to New York, pay for the flight, pay for the hotel. We have like a whole day at the office where you get to meet with our product and engineering team for over 2 hours, give us a ton of feedback, and then we take you to Times Square and we put your logo on the NASDAQ billboard, so the main billboard. And we obviously lose a ton of money on that, but it's worth it because we get to meet so many creators in person. It's inspiring. For launching a business is fucking scary. Like it's really hard. And if we can do our part in removing the fear in launching a business by giving people cool programs like that, it helps push things forward. So that's been awesome. It's just like so fun. Like every single week we have different people coming into the office. We get to learn from them. And then for them to see their work on like the Times Square billboard is just like so much inspiration for them to keep going. Every single one.
Who makes $500 within 7 days?
I'll buy my own product. Great. Wait to see you in New York.
Yeah. So I think the key takeaways from this over here is, first of all, the key takeaways from this is number one, develop a really, really good product, focus on product, and stay very, very close to your customers, right?
Yeah.
Now to change the topic a little bit, what would you say are your biggest learnings, like personally within the last, like throughout the whole journey within the last like 7, 8, 9, 10 years?
Yeah. Last like 10 years, I would say.
Or last 4 years, just what comes to your mind right now. Yeah.
I think that I'm gonna butcher the quote, but there's like a Thomas Edison quote, which is like the next try you take has the highest chance of being successful. And I think one thing we always obsessed over was you have to be doing something. Like if you're doing nothing, you're just like fucked. Like what Whop is today is not what we thought it would be at all, but we just kept like hammering it down and trying things. So I think just like always be moving, like never stop moving, never try new things. If you do, that's when you die. But the last idea has the highest chance of being the most successful. So I think that's really important. I think one thing that's like really resonated recently is our company scaled pretty quickly. We've 3x. We'll probably finish here with about 100 people. So we went from 20 to 100 people within 12 months. And as we've done that, you get a lot of advice. And as you guys are all growing your businesses, you're going to get a lot of advice. And I think one thing that kind of fucked me recently was I honestly over-indexed on advice. And every single person in this room launched their business on their own. Like you might have gotten inspiration from a book and done things on your own, but you trusted your intuition, you trusted your heart. And Brian Chesky, the founder of Airbnb, has a cool quote where he says, like, founders need to not apologize for how they want to run their business. And I think for everyone in this room, advice is amazing. Like you should take everything I'm saying, filter it, and then like throw it out and like honestly forget it. Because at the end of the day, you have to like trust yourself. Like you were able to launch a business from 0 to 1. You're going to be the one who gets it from 1 to 10 and 10 to 20. So I think the biggest thing recently has just been advice is helpful to learn, but at the end of the day, the visual analogy I've been using is kind of like when you cook pasta and you pour the pasta in a strainer, all the water falls out. Advice is just like the water that falls out. A little bit of water sticks on the pasta, but like everyone here is the pasta. Like don't over-index too much for the advice. You have to just trust yourself because you got it off the ground. You're gonna fuck up. Like you'll do a lot of dumb shit probably, but you also, if you index for advice, someone's going to give you an answer and you're going to follow it, but you don't actually understand how they thought. Like, how did they come up with that answer? If you can learn how to think, then you can solve anything. I still know nothing, but my job is to learn how to think, not get the right answer from people.
Okay, that's interesting. Your job is to learn how to think. Yeah. So how do you think? What's your process?
You ask questions, but when you ask, I read a lot and I ask questions, but when I ask questions, I don't ask them on what I should do. I ask them, how do you think about solving this problem? I was talking with someone yesterday and they were asking how you build like a sales commission. So if I ask someone how to build a sales commission, then they're going to give me an answer based on experiences they had in their life. But if I ask them what are the structures that make a sales quota or a sales commission, they're going to ask me, well, what is the goal of your business? Like how much do you want people to be selling? How long do you want them to talk to the person they sell after it's done? So if you learn frameworks, you can apply it to your own business. Someone else, if they give you the answer, they had a completely different experience in life. Maybe they were in the same industry. It's still like, today is a different day. So what worked for them back then? There were some cool conversations this week about like Instagram strategies 6 months ago don't work anymore today. So if you're getting answers from people, they're giving you answers based on things they did maybe 5 years ago. That's not going to work anymore today. If they give you the framework and how they solve problems, today, different day, you can take that framework and apply it to your own world and solve the problem on your own.
Yes, 100%. You mentioned Instagram. Yeah, it's a good topic because for Instagram, sometimes many of you guys run personal brands, theme pages and everything. And there's this kind of like trend of content, right? People ask me like, what should I post, right? And then there's this specific post that works right now and it will work for 1 month or for 2 months, right? You post it, but then it doesn't work anymore. So you have to learn the process of how to find winning trends.
Exactly.
Right?
You don't want to. There's not a lot of talk about like theme pages and meme pages right now. I was talking with Raz yesterday a little bit. I think he was like early on that trend. You don't want to learn from Raz that you should launch theme pages. You want to learn from Raz about how he figured out that you should launch theme pages. So if you there's something internally we always think about, which is like we're customer obsessed, not competitor obsessed. If we're competitor obsessed, we're playing catch up. If we're customer obsessed, we're innovating. So that goes back to the focus of if you just take what people say, that will dry out and then they're going to figure out a new thing and you're going to have to wait for them to tell you again. Versus if you understand how they figured out that theme pages were relevant, then you can be the first one to find a new trend and then people are asking you for advice and you've won.
Yeah, true. Agree. You mentioned you love books. Yeah. What's your favorite books?
My favorite books. I'm reading.
Maybe let's separate the books. One into like hardcore business advice, right? Like how to run a company, this, that. like very strategic? And then also, do you read mindset books?
I have read some mindset books. I think very different than a lot that were recommended, but there's a book called The Surrender Experiment, which I really like.
The surrender?
Yeah, The Surrender Experiment, which
Okay.
is kind of about like, there's so much stuff in life that is out of your control. So it kind of is just like there's another book which is called like The Score Takes Care of Itself. They're both kind of along the lines of like, if you do your job every single day, The Score Takes Care of Itself is a book of one of the most successful football coaches in the US of all time. And he took over one of the worst teams, and it wasn't like we need to win every single game. It's just the score will take care of itself. If you do your job over time, the score will take care of itself. So it preaches like, do your job to the best ability every single day. Like outwork everyone, outsmart everyone, all those kinds of things. So that was really good. I think there's a book called Turn the Ship Around, which was fascinating. It was about the lowest performing ship in the U.S. Marines. When you go to, there's a bunch of different ships in the U.S. Marines, and this ship was, if you were the lowest class, you would get sent to the ship, and you don't want to be on the ship. It was the shittiest ship. This captain took over and turned it into the highest performing ship of all time. And one chapter which has always resonated with me was called I Intend To, meaning when he got to the ship, he realized that every single person on the ship was asking him, hey, what do you think of this idea? Like, hey, can I do this idea? And there's two kinds of approaches to building any company. You could go tops down or you could go bottoms up. If you go tops down, you have essentially the people at the top telling everyone what to do. And again, that's not teaching people how to fish, that's giving them the fish. If you get hit by a bus tomorrow, they're not going to know what to do. So the I Intend To philosophy is he changed the entire ship to have every single person on the ship would now tell him, I intend to do this, versus what do you think of this? And it forces every single person to think a little bit harder and come up with a solution. And what you're going to find is if you can get your entire team to be thinking in like an I intend to mindset, they're going to be coming up with solutions to the problems versus you having to solve every single problem. And it builds a bottoms up function that gets the company pushing forward a lot faster.
Maybe let's go into this topic a little bit more when it comes to managing a team and like the employees and everything. You mentioned like you can give people a fish or you can teach them how to fish, right? Like how do you manage the team and how do you make sure that the company and the employees and everyone kind of like runs on their own and pushes and moves the business forward? Because what I've seen in my business, for example, we of course have A players, but we also have people who just maintain stuff, right? How do you get people, and we talked about incentives and giving them equity, but how do you manage a team correctly so that they really like move the business forward and push?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is we set really clear North Stars. So everyone knows the goal we're working backwards from is to give everyone sustainable income via the internet. So you can always ask yourself, am I helping push this forward? Number one. Number two, we do quarterly planning. So when we do quarterly planning, I never set the targets. So I oversee the growth teams, I oversee partnerships, customer support, account management, all those different teams. I help give the team direction on where we want to go. I want to onboard more creators onto the platform, but I'll never say I want to onboard 5,000 creators. It's up to Apple invented a concept called DRIs, which is the directly responsible individual. And what they realize is there's a DRI of the iPhone and there's a DRI of the iPad, and that person is the sole decision maker at the end of the day. So when you give the power to the people, they run with it. People want more responsibility. Like they want to take on more. No one wants to be given a to-do list to just do the to-do list. So when you have different DRIs who own different parts of your product and your business, like people will do insane things. So what we do is we set DRIs, there's people in charge of different parts of our company, and we tell them directionally where we want to go. Like we want to onboard more creators. But if I tell the person who's in charge of adding new creators to our platform that we want 10,000 creators, they're only going to solve for that issue versus they should be figuring out how do we add 100 million creators in the next like 2 years. So when we do quarterly planning, we give people, it's almost like a Mad Lib where they can fill in the blank. So every single person who owns a team or a part of the company comes to us saying, this is what I want to do this quarter. And then most times, as a leader, your job is to say like, okay, cool, how can you get that done in half the time and 10x it? People want to be pushed and they don't understand the limit. Like right now it feels like there's walls within these rooms, but like there's a way we could stretch this and do different things. So as a leader, you want to push your people. Like when I do interviews, for instance, we ask people real questions like, how would you get this done? And when they give an answer, you're like, okay, cool, now if you had 4 weeks instead of 4 months, how would you get this done? And most people can figure things out. It's kind of like if we all had to pick up a car right now, it'd be pretty hard to pick up the car. But if someone you love is stuck under the car, you're going to figure out a way to pick up the car. And that's the job of a leader. So we don't tell people what to do. We tell them directionally and they're bought in. Like we have 60 minutes a week of like reiterating the vision, talking about how we're progressing towards our goal, and people will help if they're bought in and they understand the mission of the company and they understand where we want to be, they'll come up with solutions to the problems on their own. And then if you pick a target for someone, they're way less motivated to hit that target versus if they set the target on their own. If someone said, I'm going to onboard 20,000 creators this quarter, and they announce that to the entire company, they're going to fucking go so much harder than if you say, hey, onboard 10,000 people this quarter.
Yeah, makes sense. So have a company vision, right? You do the weekly meetings where you even like review the company mission, and then the whole team is on board. And okay, nice, cool. Regarding the books, so you mentioned like mindset books. What are like the strategic, hardcore business books that you really liked?
There's a good book called Working Backwards, which is like 2 execs from Amazon. I think the most I've learned is just by like doing it on my own, like just like trying shit and failing. I mean, like I honestly feel like the last 6 months I think I've done like a pretty horrible job because I took so much advice and I wasn't trusting myself. And the issue was people would give me advice, I would read these books, I would implement it, and then a new problem would pop up and I was like, fuck, like I have to go read the next chapter versus like just be like trusting my intuition, solving it in the moment. So I think books are helpful, like guiding. Books should be inspiration for you to come up with your own ideas for your company and stuff like that. So there's so many amazing books. Like books are amazing. I think reading about history is really helpful. Learning about history repeats itself. So learning about problems that people have done in the past. I'm about to read a book on like George Washington and like the story of how the U.S. came together. I think like stuff like that is fascinating, like from multiple hundred years ago. But if someone tells you, if you read a book on how to run a meeting, something's gonna happen in your meeting that wasn't in the book. And then if you're relying on the book, you're fucked. So use these things to build your own frameworks and principles about how to do things.
So your favorite books are history books?
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Mm-hmm. And what's a good history book that you read?
Let me think of a good one. My friend read Stephen, my co-founder, just read the George Washington book, so he said that was insane. I honestly over the last couple months I haven't been reading as much. I'm very focused on stuff. So
okay, easy, cool. Next topic.
Yeah.
To run a company like this, you yourself also have to be productive, right? Yeah. What does your day-to-day look like, and how do you make sure that you operate on a high level and that you stay productive, even like nutrition, working out, things like this, or mindset, or do you not give a shit at all about nutrition?
No, I care a lot. So I think someone gave me an analogy once of like humans are an iPhone, and you can be an iPhone with like, if you have an iPhone that has 100 apps open, the iPhone's gonna run out of battery faster. And if you have 5 apps open, the iPhone's more efficient. So I'm big on like that kind of stuff. We're big on in-person culture. So our entire team's in person. We pay for anyone who works at Whop. If you live within 3 blocks of the office, we pay for 25% of your rent on top of your salary and all those benefits. So a lot of people live in an apartment complex connected to our office in the city. Day to day, Monday through Sunday, is wake up usually around like 8 a.m. I try to work out in the morning for like 30 to 45 minutes and then walk to the office, which is a 1-minute walk. And then I'll be in the office until about like 11 p.m. And that's 7 days a week. And that's most of the team. So 9 to 11 p.m. Pretty much every single day, 7 days a week.
Wow. That's also something that you guys, or that we talked about in the office, that you get people, like the employees, motivated, even with little things, like with gamification, like you have the thing that people can order free food in the office.
Yeah. I wouldn't call it gamification. It's just like, if you want to build a really fucking massive thing, it's really hard. So anything you can do to remove distraction, you should do. So anyone at Whop, during the day, you get a $20 Uber Eats credit. So you get free $20. After 8 p.m., you get another $25 Uber Eats credit. After 10 p.m., you get a $50 Uber credit. So we do those things. Everyone gets free gym access. So we have an Equinox that's opening in our office. Everyone gets access to the Equinox healthcare coverage. So I wouldn't call it gamification. I would call it like, doing anything massive is like building a company is the hardest thing in the world. So if you can remove any distractions that someone might have, then you give yourself a better chance at succeeding. So if someone doesn't have to think about paying for food, you can give yourself a better chance at succeeding, and they can just order Uber Eats and get it delivered every single day.
Yeah, okay, cool. Now, going back to your story, at the beginning when you first started, you mentioned you were all just trying to make money, right? So what was the vision back in the days? Just to make money? Did you want to have like fast cars and everything? Or what were the goals?
Yeah, definitely not fast cars. I think like Montessori was so helpful in shaping, the way we think, because every baby that's born is curious. Like they're an alien to the world. Like they're inherently a curious individual, and we were fortunate enough to go through a schooling system that kept us curious. So I think it's not about like the Lamborghinis for us. It's about building shit that can change the world. So I think in the early days, the one thing we obsessed over was just like usage. Like, can we build something that will get usage? Because if you can get usage, you can compound that if people are using your product. So we didn't, I mean, you need to make money as a business also. So we didn't raise any money. We hadn't raised any money while we started. So we didn't raise any money until we were doing about $500,000 a month. So it's just like you need to build a company that can compound on its own. So I think it was mostly just where are there gaps in the market? Like where Peter Thiel has a cool quote, which is like you could build a big business, you could build a small business in a big market, or you could try to monopolize a small market. So we always tried to find really niche markets. Again, like renting out sneaker bots, which is the most niche thing in the world. Like that's not scalable, but we just monopolized it. And we realized that the people who were buying those products wanted to do more things. And then you can shift what they do and you can compound from there.
Okay, cool. And what's your goals now, like personal ones?
I mean, personal, so there's the Whop goal is to build like the super app of the Western world. So we want people to connect with their friends, to pay for their rent, pay for their gym, and then find cool products like what all you guys are building to learn how to start their own business and escape their business. So with Whop, we want to help hundreds of millions of people quit their 9 to 5 and essentially build like the biggest farmer's market the world has ever seen. And I like using the farmer's market analogy because when you think of farmer's markets, you think of fresh produce, you think of organic food. We want to help everyone in the world essentially build their own stand where they can launch a business and remove the fear of launching a business. Personal goal, I feel like so indebted to my parents that I was able to go to Montessori school. So I want to open like hundreds and thousands of Montessori schools. The Montessori school I went to, my grandma paid for. It was like $10,000 a year. So I was very fortunate to be able to go to that. I think the way to fix problems in the world is to fix the root problem. So that means we have to solve the way that like 5-year-olds think because they're the next generation. So I want to open up like thousands of Montessori schools and just change the way that kids are developed because parenting is really important. But as a parent, you only spend half the day with the kid. Like the kid actually spends more time at school with other kids and their teachers. So you have to fix the root problem, which is the schooling system, to make the world a better place. So I'm just like so grateful that I was able to go and I want to just open as many Montessori schools as I can.
That's amazing, man. Love it, really. Really love it. Thanks for sharing everything. Do you guys have questions on team building, hiring, mindset, operations, raising capital even, building software? Yeah, Max?
I have a question, a challenging question.
Yeah.
Like if a company like Meta, right, with like WhatsApp, right, the huge existing customer base sees your vision, right? Do you think there's like a big risk of them like trying to just like build a vision into WhatsApp because they already have like a huge user base?
Mm-hmm.
How do you deal with that?
I think when you have like companies that large, why small companies can disrupt big companies is because big companies, for Meta made $130 billion last year. So for something to move the needle for Meta, they need to make $10 to $20 billion off it for it to like matter at all. So I think that's why small companies can disrupt big companies because what we're doing today is not worth Meta doing. But what it will become, like when it becomes too late for them to realize. So like Facebook taking down MySpace, it's just like Apple did an amazing job. Like big companies need to disrupt themselves. So once you've made a big business, you need to immediately disrupt yourself and think like a startup again. So I think we're still too small for them to, no one there probably has any idea who we are, which is great. We want it to stay that way for a long time. And then when they wake up one day, they're like, fuck. I would say, I think on the literal product, it's really hard to change user behavior. So we break social media platforms down into 4 C's. You have creation, connection, consumption, and commerce. Every existing platform, Meta, Instagram, obviously, TikTok, they have creation down, they have consumption down, and they have connection down. That's what they are. But commerce, they don't have down. Facebook makes $130 billion a year because people are paying them for ads, but no one has their card connected to Facebook. So you're clicking an ad, there's an in-app pop-up. You might still purchase it on Instagram, but your card's not inherently connected. Elon, I think, is trying to do a similar thing with the super app with Twitter. And that's why he's pushing subscriptions hard. He's pushing people connecting their cards hard. But it's really hard to change user behavior. So if you now changed WhatsApp as a place where people start a business versus chat with their friends, you also risk ruining what they have, which is the biggest like chat app in the world. So I think it's really hard to rewrite user behavior, is what I would say.
Question from Max?
Yeah, so you're looking at this Chinese app, that's a super app over there.
Mm-hmm.
What are kind of like competitors that you have more directly in the States that are trying to do the same thing? What's your relationship to these? How do you look at them?
Mm-hmm.
How close are they to what you're doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think I mentioned earlier, but as a company, you can either be competitor obsessed or customer obsessed. And if we're competitor obsessed, then let's say company X, like let's say we're focused on X. We're gonna wait for X to push a new thing and then we're gonna copy them. And then while the time it takes for us to copy them, they're innovating again, working on the next thing. So you can either play catch up or we can put all of our energy into obsessing over the customer and understanding what problems they have and helping them solve their problems. So I think the grand vision of where we're trying to go, every vertical we go after has different competitors. So when I met with this landlord in the city last week, none of us have probably ever heard of the platforms that they use to like manage rental payments, manage gym access, manage building maintenance. So it's similar. If you asked Amazon early on, like who's their biggest competitor, they would say, well, what category? Because in books, it was Barnes and Nobles and Borders, but in toys, it was Toys R Us, and pets.com. So I think I'd be lying if I said like I don't think and look at competitors, but it's more so competitors will make decisions that are better than ours sometimes, and it is important we catch up to those. But it's also, again, like you can either, I want people to be obsessed with us. Like if we're innovating, people will try to catch up to us. Any successful company has changed. Like the iPhone was a new device. They didn't try to build a better Android and catch up to those platforms. They innovated. So I think if you spend too much time thinking of competitors, you're just gonna die. You're not gonna win. Like you're gonna lose.
Yeah, 100%. But are there any other people that are doing something similar or trying something similar to what you guys are doing?
I think X, like I think what Elon's trying to do with Twitter is like he's trying to build a super app. Like he's making it so people can launch a subscription on their profile. You can chat with your friends, you can call them in DM. So I would say that's probably like the closest comparison. But the issue with that is it's all still a feed. So within Whop, when you join a Whop, they're all interactive web apps. So we have a chat app you could add, we have a courses app you can add, but we're starting to build SaaS tools that creators can sell access to. So I was talking to someone the other day and they were talking about how in Iman's product that he sells, there's this like there's this like monk mode tracker, accountability tracker, where you can upload something every single day. So you can think of Whop as kind of like the iPhone app store, but for products that you can sell. So we're going to build an accountability tracker now, where any creator can add that product to their Whop, where every single day user gets a notification like, hey, like what did you do today? And they open it up and it's an app where they take a picture of what they did and they write a journal, and people can upvote and downvote different things. So I think that's like the big difference between us and X is the world is going more niche. So you can't, if all of you guys were limited to selling access to your Twitter accounts, you wouldn't be making as much money as you are. So I think the vision is similar, but the way of execution is a little bit different.
Lenny?
So two questions. First one, regarding office and remote working.
Yeah.
What was the thinking process when you decided that?
Do you have a team like in person or remote? Okay, cool. How many hours a day are they? Like how close are you guys? When things are hard, how do you help them? When it's 10 p.m. and you're listening to house music, or they're listening to the music with you in the office and everyone's jamming? Like I think there's just like a difference. If we're all in person right now, like imagine if this event was remote. Half the people, not in a bad way, would maybe be like scrolling a social media right now, getting distracted. Like you can't match the in-person presence. When you think also COVID made it really normal to go remote, which kind of like fucked things up. Like when you think if they built the iPhone remote, they would have built like a flip, like it would have sucked, like it wouldn't have worked. So I think like the greatest products in the history of mankind were all built in person. So I'm not one to like bet against that. I think remote, it's like you have flexibility of life, which is nice for people, but they're just not as bought in. Like if you live in a different state than the other people you work in, and your entire relationship to this company is a Zoom screen, you're not gonna be willing to like die for it. Like our office at 10 p.m. at night is full. There's like 30 to 40 people there. We have house music playing. We're ordering pizza. Like that shit is magic. Like you can order everyone pizza on Zoom, but then like share audio. It's just not the same. And when times are tough, we're also all there to, it's not everything is like up and to the right. Like there's been plenty of times where it's like down and to the left, and we're all together and we talk through it and you like acknowledge the hardship. So it's a lot easier to go through. 90% of it's going to be hard times, 10% of it will be good times. So it's a lot better to do that in person.
Maybe quick question on that before Lenny, you take the next one. So you said 90% are bad times.
Yeah.
How do you have a big team, you have so much responsibility like on your shoulders. How do you manage stress?
Yeah, I honestly cry like a decent amount. And there's just like times that are hard. Like I think I have my two co-founders who I'm really close to. I also think we've built an environment where I'll go. I think one thing, I don't have to solve every single problem. Like that's not my job. My job is to, one thing I learned recently, Elon Musk was on Lex Fridman's podcast, and Elon Musk has probably solved some of the hardest problems in humanity. And Lex asked him, how how do you solve problems? And he has a mantra he repeats. And he said the first thing he does is he questions the question. So he said 99% of people come up with the perfect answer to the wrong problem. So they come up, they're like, oh, we should do this. They come up with the right answer to the wrong problem. So going back to what you said, my job is to make sure we're answering the right problems. Like part of the reason in hiring people is to help solve problems. Like when we hired Sid, the head of product who came from Google and Meta, he knows more about building a news feed than I do. Like right now we're building a feed which aggregates all of the Whop. So engagement for all of you guys, engagement is key. Like the more engaged your users are, the more you can get them happy and the more you can get them to purchase more products. So we're building a feed within Whop right now, which aggregates all the content from Whop. So for me, my job is to make sure that Sid is solving the right problems, making sure we're building the best newsfeed. I don't have to come up with the solution to the newsfeed. So I think making sure the team has the right problems. And then we just talk, I mean, like, when there's an elephant in the room, you have to address the elephant in the room. So like personally, I try to meditate every morning and night. I eat really healthy, work out every day, and then talk it out when times are tough. Like talk it out and be like emotional and be vulnerable because like everyone's probably feeling it.
Ah, okay, amazing. Thank you for sharing. Lenny, you had a follow-up question?
Yeah, so you just mentioned that you meditate, right? So my question would be, how did you decide, because now I'm already implementing that, I'm not asking you for the exact routine, but how you decided on your routine, right? Because you mentioned your mom is like, is really deep into mindset and that stuff. So how did you decide for yourself and also for your team, if they ask you, because you want them to perform also at the highest level, what routines, things like journaling, meditation, working out, what to implement and what's just too much?
Yeah. I would say just like try everything. Like I went 6 months on like a vegan diet and then immediately I went 6 months on a carnivore diet. And then like now I found a balance of that I like. So I would say like, what? What'd you say? No, I don't eat any pizza. But I think, I mean, I tested different I mean, I would make a list of things that you think are good for you and a list of things that you think are bad for you. And anything bad for you, just like don't do it. So I try not to, don't eat unhealthy. I don't watch TV. I think you also need like pleasure in life and those kinds of things. I don't drink, I don't smoke, like I don't do any of that stuff. So I think it's kind of like allergies in a way. Like you might be allergic to peanuts, but I'm not allergic to peanuts. So you should just try everything and see what makes you feel the best. Like I got a Whoop, which is honestly kind of helpful. Like this shows me my recovery score and it monitors my stress levels. And it's not 100% accurate, but like ways that you can use tech to monitor how you feel. I also journal before I go to bed. Like I write down 3 things I'm grateful for every single day. But for you, it might be write 3 things you learned today. Like there's no right answer. So I would honestly just try a ton of shit and see how you feel. Like when you wake up in the morning, are you fucking juiced? Like do you have a lot of energy? If not, try new shit until you do. Yeah.
Are you ever focused also on the financial goals? Or because you've mentioned that you don't like to set financial goals, right? So now, in the past, I've run quite well with that, but I do see the benefit, the more money I make and have, the more I see that if I would have just a huge big audacious goal, it might not even be financial, but the financial aspects are important, very important. They would come then as a byproduct anyways if I move towards that and get better.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
Well, I think it's kind of financial goals and metrics are leading indicators. Like, are you moving in the right way? You can't say like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to make more money. Like, okay, like it's really like, what are you going to do to make more money? So it's less about I think what did it for me recently was if the goal is 100 million, like why is it not 200 million? Like if you set a target, you're almost limiting your thinking. Like you're forcing yourself to think in constrained boxes. So we do monitor platform GMV. Like we care a ton about how much creators are making on Whop. If we didn't, like that is our lifeline. Like we need people to be making more money. So we monitor the metric, but if the goal next month is to make more money, that's not a goal. Like you have to do things to make more money. So I use metrics as a way to, as leading indicators. Like they're almost like a map of like, we have an end destination, which is like 1 billion miles away, but the metrics are like, at least we know we're on the right path. But if you set a finite number, you kind of fuck yourself because you're only gonna solve that number versus like Elon Musk wants to build a multi-planetary human species. Like that's a fucking big goal. That's not like it's just like, they're gonna solve that long term. So I would just say that if you set a finite number, you constrain yourself. So you should track numbers to see if you're on the right path, but if you set the number, then you're only gonna solve for that number.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit yesterday, and then I talked a lunch or two, and you guys are very customer focused. When it comes to products or features in what you guys are doing, is a lot of that coming as a result of like customer complaints and customer feedback, or do you guys have a process internally where you guys have meetings
Yeah.
Do you guys find the majority of your innovation is coming from the feedback, or is it just like, let's throw shit against the wall and see
Yeah. I would say threefold. So one, it's definitely like talking to a ton of customers. Like I've talked to, well, one big topic of conversation I've had with a lot of people here is like, how can we make your product and community more engaging? So that's like, it's talking to customers and figuring out ways we can make things more engagement. Number two is looking at the actual data. So for all of you guys, like if you have students going through your business, are you like, how much you guys actually care about their success? Like, are they actually following the program? Are they succeeding in it? So we just like, an example is the other day we realized that, we realized that 70% of people who purchase a course on Whop don't make it past the third lesson, which is kind of, and I think that's like industry wide. Like so many people buy these products and don't engage. So we, in an hour, shipped a new feature. We A/B tested it. A/B test means you show it to a controlled group of users. So we have an existing feature, we launch a new feature, and we test it with a small set of users and see the data increase. And we added a quick feature in an hour, which made it so when you finish watching a course video, the next video auto plays, kind of like YouTube. And course engagement went up 10% just from that small feature. So number two is looking at the actual data of what users are doing. So we watch user sessions, we look at the data of where people are struggling, and we just ship experiments and see how they perform. And then third, I think you have to innovate, like you have to trust your instinct. So we're relaunching our entire product in a month, and most of what we're relaunching was just like you talk to a ton of people, you understand the pain points, and then you have to innovate. And we're just like redoing everything from scratch essentially, and we're trying a bunch of shit, and it might completely fail or it'll work. So I would say talking to customers, looking at the actual data, and then third, using all of that to trust your intuition and try new things.
Wow. Any other questions? Maybe on raising capital? Yeah, can you walk through the process, how you guys raise capital, and why you decided to raise capital?
Yeah, someone was asking me yesterday, like how to get investors, and I think people in the world want what they can't have. So if you're trying to get investors, no investors are gonna want to invest in you. If you build something really fucking dope, people are gonna want to give you money because they want to be a part of it. So I think for us, it's a little bit different because we wanted to hire pretty aggressively, and we want to do pretty soon some like pretty mainstream marketing stuff. So I think for us, raising money was a way to de-risk the business versus this vision that we had. I think most people that are running businesses today have like extremely cash flow positive businesses, and raising money might not be needed. Maybe for a future business it is, but I think like you can't, if you're doing something awesome that's growing and people are using it, people will want to give you a lot of money. If you're trying to get investors, no, and if someone asks you guys for money, you're probably not gonna want to give it to them. But if you see something doing really well, you're gonna say, how can I get a part of this? So I would say that's like the most important.
Okay, cool. Now, because you run Whop and you also have like a lot of creators on the platform, you know, here in the audience, there's a lot of coaches, consultants, people who run e-learning business owners. If you had an e-learning business doing 50K, 100K, 200K a month, how would you scale it and grow it big?
Yeah. I'm actually gonna launch, I wanna start using our product more. So I'm gonna launch like a free Whop soon and make sure I use it. So I'll be a part of this crowd. But I think the one thing, I think people in this space are usually like insane at building funnels. The two things I would say, if I was launching a business, I would do two things. Number one, I would make sure I have a free funnel, a low ticket, and a high ticket. I think I would use all of social media to drive followers to my free product where I provide a little bit of value. And I would make sure that people are super engaged with that and end up converting. Right now, creators on Whop that have a free product on their product page convert 25% of users, like 25% of users that hit their product page end up joining the free Whop, which is a number that we will probably get to 50 to 75%. But that to me is kind of like, if I can get one follower, if anyone I can get to click my link, I can get them in my free Whop. I now have their email. I now know where they're located. I know other products they've purchased on Whop. I have a lot more data I can work with. So that's the first thing I would do. Then I would build a low ticket, which is like a cheaper community. And I would just get everyone who's in the free offer to purchase my low ticket offer, as many people as I can, and provide more value. And then I would have a higher ticket product. And I think the main thing that I would focus on, part of the reason we've been able to grow without having a marketing team is creators on our platform tell their friends about Whop. So I think in this space, there's a lot of the videos and the books I see are all about like how to market better, how to build a better funnel, but where's like the customer obsession? Like if every single person who purchased your guys' product was able to make a fuck ton of money, that's gonna have like a K factor means how many users you get as a result of a user you get. So if you get one user and they make $10,000, they're gonna tell all their friends, hey, I just quit my job because I purchased this course, I made $10,000. And that means they could probably drive another 10 people. So I think I would make a big focus on actually measuring the user success and verifying that, because if users are making, there's a lot of focus on like how do we fill top top of funnel? How do we get new people in the product? But if your users are making more money, they're going to tell their friends, and then you'll scale like exponentially.
Okay, cool. Nice. Any questions about this topic for him? Yeah. Max?
Another question.
Yeah.
If a company like Elon Musk or like a big company would come to you for $10 billion, would you sell it?
Yeah.
The question is,
No, no.
No.
why not?
Because I'm really fucking confident in what we're doing. Like I think getting a business from 0 to 1 is the hardest part. Like getting it off the ground is the hardest part. We have a really clear vision right now, and I don't think a bigger company like that would give us the ability to execute this vision at a faster rate. They might have like billions of dollars we could get, but I actually don't think we're that far from cracking. Like I think we're, with this new product launch and a couple iterations, I think we're like a good marketing campaign away from having like millions of people making money on Whop. So I think that, and we want to like hold destiny in our own hands. Like we either want to die trying or build like the biggest thing the world's ever seen. So I think we want to leave like the control in our hands.
What were the first marketing steps that you took? You mentioned you don't have a huge marketing department, right? So you came in and said, we're going to innovate that space. Now there were big players, Kajabi, etc., right? So how did you get the first tipping point amount of users and creators? Like what was your plan?
Yeah, so I probably personally onboarded the first like 500 creators onto Whop. So I just text every single person and get on a phone call with them for an hour, go meet them in person, hold their hand and sit next to them while they're signing up, have them share their screen. Oh, they got stuck at this part, like we need to fix it. So for the first 250 to 500 people we onboarded, I was their dedicated account manager. So they had my personal cell phone number. I would spend all day long talking to our existing creators and then trying to find new creators. And every single person I personally onboarded over a call. So it was just, there's a saying like called product market fit, which is essentially like how, if you have product market fit, then you're going to scale a massive company. So anyone in here who's built a big company, they've had product market fit because you're solving a real problem for someone. So I just got on the phone with every single person every single day for essentially like 2 years straight and made sure that we were solving their problems. And whenever they had an issue, I would immediately walk over to the engineering team and say, hey, we need to fix this right now, and be product focused. So that's how we got the first people.
Any other questions?
How much time do you spend on the design, like on the product looking good?
So my co-founder Steven is better at design and product than I am. So I think he probably spends like 50% of his week on design. I mean, the product is the central source of truth at the end of the day. Like that is how you win if you have a really good product. So over 50% of time each week is spent on like product and design and engineering, looking at mockups, looking at Figmas, printing it out, going down the street, asking people what they think, calling people, getting feedback. So we spend the majority of our time on the product. And if I was to draw a comparison to this space, it would be like, that'd be like spending 50% of your time on like your actual course materials, what you're selling, making sure users are connecting with each other and the success of the team. Because if you have a coaching offer where 80% of people that purchase actually make money and do well, they're all going to tell their friends and you will scale exponentially versus every single time running paid ads and having to acquire people in the feed. So I think there's just like so many people focus on the top of funnel. There's a massive opportunity to just focus on making sure every single student is successful. And if you do that, it'll, especially if you give them like an affiliate program where they get money for referring their friends and stuff like that, like it just goes boom.
Zenny, I think you had another question?
What's your thinking process to know how you can like improve the product for the customer? Like, what do you think?
Yeah.
In order to do that?
You have to, what we do is I'll call a creator that's making $100,000 a month and ask them why they're not making $500,000 a month and listen to what they're saying and then start to break it down. Yeah?
But that doesn't like make sense with the analogy of the faster horse. Like if you ask them, then you are not.
We don't do what they say. If someone says like, I'm not making $250,000 because when I make a post in the forum, people don't open the app. Like if we just solve that issue, what they're really saying is like, if my community was more engaged, I would be able to make more money. So if we solve just like the forum piece, then we're building the horse. If we take what they're saying and realize like, oh, they're not engaging their community as much as they could be, and we solve the engagement issue, then you're building a car. Take what people are saying and break. So if you call a student, they're like, I'm not successful because I don't have enough time. Like that's like the people don't understand their real problem. So they're going to tell you what they think their problem is, but it's your responsibility to realize like, oh, it's actually like just really hard to get started kind of like there's different ways you can solve the problem for them.
You put a lot of emphasis during your talk on the people in your company.
Yeah.
How, and I ask this to basically everybody that's here on Mastermind, how do you find A player talent? How do you retain them? How do you sift out the B players?
Yeah. So A players attract A players, and B players attract B players, and C players and D players. So it's kind of like we're gonna make mistakes hiring. Like this is my first time ever doing something of this size. So number one, we get rid of people really fast. So if we hire someone and they're not a good fit, we get rid of them quickly. It's not fair. Fastest I've ever done is like 10 days. And that's like in our office in New York full time. So I think it's your responsibility as a leader to make sure you're surrounding your people with great other people. So if you have people who aren't performing, you need to get rid of them immediately, because if not, it's literally a disease. Like it will infect a lower performer will make a higher performer a lower performer. So I was talking to Steven recently about this, and an individual person on your team can only be as good as their manager. So it's kind of like if you have bad people on the team, they're going to bring everyone down. So I think how we attract A people, we have a full-time recruiting team of 4 people. So we have 4 people whose full-time job is recruiting talent. We spend probably like 20 hours per candidate we bring on in interviews. So we bring them into the office. We have them talk to 7 different people. We go really, really hard on interviews. And I think it's just, I spend probably half my time hiring. So I just put all my time into hiring. And once you start to get good people, they'll bring other good people with them. But if you have anyone who's not a top performer, like just get rid of them immediately. Like you won't feel the impact.
What about executive level staff specifically?
Yeah.
Like the managers, the controllers,
Yeah.
and so forth. How do you find these guys?
Yeah, so for executives, we usually use like executive recruiting firms. So that's where you'll pay, like we usually pay on average about like $100,000 per executive role we fill. So we'll pay $100,000 to world's best recruiters, and they spend, it's usually like a 2 to 3 month process of them recruiting. So if you're an exec at Facebook, an exec at Amazon, you're not gonna just randomly go to a new, think of like sports players. Like if you're, Ronaldo, like you're gonna go shop, like you're gonna go through the agent. It's like you wouldn't go right to Ronaldo and he'd be like, fuck yeah, I'm down to go play on your team. So we use like world's best recruiters who have existing relationships with some of these execs. And then like each person we hire, we probably spend 20 hours interviewing them, which means if we hire one person, there were 10 candidates, that was 200 hours that went into that candidate. So I spend more than half my time hiring because, again, like if you guys want to build a business that makes $10 million a month, like you're not going to be able to do it on your own. You're going to need other people. So you need the people. You want the people to literally be better than you, and you need people who are better than you. So if you hire people who aren't better than you, or like up to that same level, your company just won't be that big.
You don't have to answer this question, but have you ever poached someone from another company?
Yeah, all the time.
Have you ever been poached someone by another company that you know of?
Has any of our team been poached?
Yeah.
No.
How do you poach people from other companies? What do you offer that's more attractive?
I would say the main reasons people, if you're not starting your own company, you want to be a part of a mission that you really resonate with. So if you can give someone more autonomy and more power, like every human being wants to have autonomy and they want to have power. So they want to feel like they're providing impact. So if you can give someone the ability to have more impact and you give them upside, I think like the equity example, maybe an unconventional thing in this space, but like my goal is every single person at Whop makes like hundreds of millions of dollars, like our team. And that means like I did my job correctly. So we give people a fuck ton of upside where there's a reason there's like 40 people at our office at 10 p.m. It's because like they're all bought into the mission and they care about the long-term thing. So when it comes to poaching someone, I think it's no different than like if you're selling someone your product, like what are their problems and what value can we provide them? So if you can find someone who's a really talented player who's not providing the value that you think they could to the world, and you give them the ability to have a bigger role, then they're going to want to do it.
Thanks, man.
Mm-hmm.
More questions? Carrie?
Yeah, I have one question.
Yeah.
We had a chat
Yeah.
recently, right? So I want to keep up that topic.
Mhm.
So I'm very curious about, like, are you guys planning some implementing with decentralized exchanges? Like Telegram is doing it at the moment, like with the Tron coin and everything. So we have also plans for that going into crypto payments and so on.
Yeah, so our payments side of our business is really important. So you can already pay with crypto on Whop, so anyone can accept crypto payments on Whop. The founder of Signal, Moxie, is another one of our close advisors. So Signal's actually like the most encrypted chat app in the world. So we're building end-to-end chat encryption in all of our apps. So there's going to be, as a creator, you're going to have different abilities with your chat and forums app. You can make it all like public. You can do end-to-end encryption. You can also do anonymous. So where there's no usernames, you have no idea who's posting. So I think we're really big on giving the creator the ability to build their own world. So if you want to have a platform that has encrypted chat where nothing can be seen by anyone else, then you can do that. And in terms of the payments, we already have crypto payments integrated. So any creator on Whop can take payments in crypto and choose to get paid out in crypto or fiat.
Yeah.
What's your stance on working with caffeine and like focus enhancing substances for yourself and
I take Adderall at 10, 12. No, I'm just kidding. I think different times require different medicines. Maybe, I don't know. I stopped drinking. I stopped drinking coffee like 2 months ago, and I drank a little bit on this trip because I slept like 8 hours over the last 3. Yeah. Why did I stop? I was going a little bit too. I wasn't thinking enough, honestly. I was like too in execution mode versus like thinking strategically. So it just slowed me down a little bit to go higher level. So I mean, supplements. I take a lot of supplements. I get like blood tests to figure out like which I'm like low in vitamin diffusion and stuff like that. So I think caffeine's like a hell of a drug. It's fucking awesome. So like if you need it, drink it. But I think if you're in execution mode and you know exactly what you need to do, like maybe coffee's good for you. But if you need to go higher level and think strategically, like any methamphetamine, like these drugs are going to make you think faster, and that might not be helpful. So I would think like it's just whatever the business requires of you at the time is how you should feed your body.
Which supplements do you take?
I take this like green drink in the morning. I started taking like L-theanine. I take zinc. I take magnesium. I take calcium. But I think it's like there's no one size. I think everyone has different. Every body's different. So those are just things that I'm like deficient in.
I see. Any more questions? Another one from Lenny. Go ahead.
Is there anything that you think is a crazy cool story, learning, something that you think would be either fun, helpful, because that's access to people that most of us so far haven't had.
Yeah. So when we met Peter Thiel, it was like 4 months after starting our business. We flew to LA to meet with him at his office, and we were like freaking the fuck out. Like, we watched The Social Network the night before to get hyped and stuff like that. And I think it was funny because that was when we were raising our first round, and we ended up talking to maybe like 20 different investors. And I was ready. We were like preparing to get stumped, like ask the hardest questions in the world. And it was actually funny. Peter Thiel asked the most like simple, basic questions, like how do you guys get users? How are you going to get more users in the future? Why do you guys choose to build in New York? Like just basic questions. And I think a lot of times the takeaway from that was most people overcomplicate everything. Like you need to simplify the problem always. That is like the most important thing. So I think the coolest takeaway from that is it's not, most of us like know what to do deep down, and we just overcomplicate a lot of times. So I think in his case, he was the first investor in Facebook, founder of PayPal, like one of the most successful investors of all time. And 20 years after the fact, his go-to question is not like, what's your philosophical take on this? It's really just like, he does ask questions like that towards the end, like contrarian takes, but it's really like, how are you getting users right now? Like, how are you going to 10x it? So I think a lot of times people think of like fancy questions and fancy problems when it's actually like the most basic shit is actually like there's something called Occam's razor, like the simplest solution is usually the best. So don't overcomplicate it, I guess, is like the takeaway from that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you have a mentor? Personal one?
We were talking about this last night. I would honestly say like my mom's my biggest mentor in terms of just like the living life in like a state of flow where you're not like waking up and like you're following your heart, you're doing things you want to do. And I think like constantly pushing the limits and trying new things. So pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone and really just like a business is all about innovation, like humans are also all about innovation. So we need to put ourselves in new circumstances and try new things. So that's why my mom's my biggest mentor.
Okay, amazing, nice. So how do you get into, you mentioned flow state. Can you talk on that a little bit? How to get into flow? How do people get out of flow? Yeah. Why is it so important?
Yeah, I think I would say to get into, I would use like the iPhone analogy again. Like if you have, flow is a state of just like being and being natural. So if you have a lot of apps running in your phone, or you have a lot of open threads in your mind, things you haven't closed, you're not gonna be able to get in a state of flow. So I read something recently, which is like what you resist persists. So if you're resisting things and you're not solving them, it's gonna get worse. So I think like whenever there's something that pops up, solving it the first time immediately, like Philip was talking about, like just do it. Like do it now, don't think about it. Like if you wake up and you're thinking like, should I go to the gym today? Like you're fucked. Like just wake up and go to the gym. So I think anything you resist persist, and just like, I literally have a note in my phone, which is like, what are the things I'm resisting? And I write them down, and then I just force myself to solve them. And if I don't know how to solve it, I'll go ask someone to help me think about how to solve it.
Nice.
One question. You said like you don't really have marketing in place.
Yeah.
How did you get your first customers, and like what's kind of like your way to acquire new people and customers right now?
Yeah, it's all been referrals of creators on the platform. So we go meet people in person, like we partner up with agencies and stuff like that. But if people have a good experience using something, they're going to tell their friends. So in the beginning, it was just getting really close to people, getting on the phone with them. Long term, we're going to do some really cool marketing campaigns. We have some really cool ideas, kind of like Apple Airbnb style, where it's like on a global scale. But in the beginning, you can't market a product until you know that people love it and they really want to use it. So in the beginning, it's been all, if people aren't referring their friends to your product sucks. Like that's kind of our analogy. So we've gotten to a point where all of our growth has been from referrals, which means we're on the right track. So now solving marketing is actually like, we just need to put Whop on 1 million billboards and make sure that it's a message that resonates with people. But if you start with marketing before people are referring their friends, you're marketing a shitty product, and you're going to have to spend a lot more money. So I think we focus first on making sure people are referring their friends and they love the product, and then from there it'll grow.
Okay, cool.
Man,
Cool.
really appreciate
Thank you. Yeah, this is
time
fun.
sharing and attention.
Thank you. It's fun. Appreciate it.
That's really, really cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.